Hi, I'm Heather with Going Batty, and today we are continuing in our basic series. We're kind of coming to the end of it, and I am going to talk about cookbooks. All right, so as much as it's wonderful to be able to get on the internet and grab any recipe that you want to, that's great, but sometimes you need to have a written recipe, one that's easy for you to follow, that has the instructions, that it's there for you all the time. Because here's my problem with internet recipes. We're like, oh yeah, that looks good, and then totally forget where it came from. And I don't remember. So when you're looking for cookbooks, I guess I'm gonna start from the bare, most simple ones, and then kind of move up from there. So the first one I'm going to talk about here is, and this is actually an old one. They had a new revised edition of this, but this is the Living on the Dime cookbook. If you know Living on a Dime, they are on YouTube. She has, Tara and Mike have all kinds of cookbooks now, but this one is really great because it is super simple. If you are learning how to cook, this one has really simple recipes in it. They're very easy to follow. They're really easy to make, and they're actually, because it's called Dining on a Dime, they're inexpensive too. So if you are a young person by yourself, you're living out on your own for the first time, this would be one to check out. The next one that I would suggest actually comes from another YouTube channel, The Big Family Homestead. Brad and Krista have put out several digital copies. Now I know I said, doing it online, but this is different because it is actually a digital cookbook that you can download and you can print out if you want, or you can have it in your device. If you use your iPad or your phone while you're cooking to have your recipe on, it's very easy to do. I believe I own all of theirs, and they have, again, wonderful recipes. They're a family that is larger. And so when they cook, they had to be frugal in the things that they cooked. And with them and with Living on a Dime, I'll try to put in the description box where you can get their recipe books. But that is a really good one. Brad and Krista both are excellent cooks. So if you're wanting to support a more I don't know how to say it, not really mom and pop, because, well, I guess it kind of is. I guess it would kind of be kind of a mom and pop type thing. Then Mike and Tara from Living on a Dime and Brad and Krista from The Big Family Homestead. They have wonderful cookbooks.
They're not big. They're not corporate.
Yeah, it's just them. It's a family business that they've built up themselves. And like I said, I wouldn't suggest them if I didn't think they were good. Next one that I would suggest is, you always have that family member that is just an incredible cook. And I come from a long line of family members who are incredible cooks. Go to them and do something like this. This is my recipes that if I have something that I find out that I love, I ask them to write it down and put it in here. So my grandmother's apple butter recipe is in here. I have my salsa recipes in here. And I'm sorry, the pages are kind of splattered because...
Let me ask a clarifying question about this cookbook. Is this the cookbook that has the secret Cincinnati chili recipe in it?
It does.
Oh, don't show that on screen. Don't show that on screen.
And I have things in here from Buckeyes, my Aunt Kathy's Buckeyes. They're some that are just printed one. This one actually came from one of Katie's teachers.
Okay.
But I've got just all sorts of recipes in here that were given to me by somebody else. So get something like this. You can get a recipe box, but I feel like this one here, I'm sorry, what are we playing at?
There's a chicken right there. Just wanted to make note of that.
Right here. So, the other ones that I would recommend is, go to garage sales. Go to thrift stores. Thrift stores are key. This is my grandmother's. And with this, Better Homes and Garden, now you can find one that's, checked like this and everything. This one was printed before 1970. And the reason I like this one, as opposed to, say, this one here that was done in the early 2000s, this one, it'll tell you open up a box of this, open up a can of that, of cream of whatever soup, or, you know, a box of cornbread mix or something like that. That's great. But if you really want to know how to cook, this one here will tell you how to make cornbread. This one here will tell you how to make cream of whatever soup. This one is much older, back before a lot of the pre-processed foods came in. So
making it from scratch. Not scratching it out of the can, not scratching it out of the box, but from scratch.
Yeah. So if you can find one of these or an older cookbook, here's another one. Like, as I go through, when my grandmother passed away, I got most of her cookbooks because I love to cook. So these two here are actually, this one here is, it's the Watkins Cookbook. It is from 1945. So this was back when they were still rationing food after World War II. So this one has some bizarre recipes in it, but some that are really fun. And so and a lot of these, it's not, again, you learn how to make something from scratch in something this old. So
there might be some recipe archaeology type recipes in there, but then there's also simple recipes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Like there's one in here that, okay, here's another thing that my grandmother did. And I love this and I won't take him out just because it reminds me of her. My grandmother would shove recipes inside of her recipe books or tape them in here. This lighted dinner roll recipe is in every one of her cookbooks. It's from her sister Elsie. And I don't know, this might be in like the lighted, I've never heard lighted dinner rolls anywhere other than kind of like Appalachian families. So my family's from the mountains in Tennessee. And so that was in every single one of her cookbooks that I had, one of Aunt Elsie's recipes. But this one had one, I forget what it was. There was something weird. It was like pork what was it? It was pork fruitcake. Like there was cooked ground pork in a fruitcake. So if food is being rationed and you're trying to use it up, I mean, like I said, there's some weird ones, but there are also some really old recipes like jams, jellies, apple butters. Now, I wouldn't recommend canning them the way that they say in this book. You want something like a more current, like ball canning book to do stuff like that. But the beginning parts of it, just like the, putting the stuff together, you can use that. Just the canning method I wouldn't use. But this is just, wonderful. If you're having to scrape by on stuff, having something this old will tell you how to do it.
And that's a treasure.
That is.
You may not find a cookbook quite that old.
Excuse me, guys. We're getting over sickness in the house. Okay, this one here, when my parents moved to Indiana, not my parents, my grandparents, when they moved to Indiana, this was put out by, it's from your Congressman Ralph Harvey in the 10th District of Indiana. So, and I'm like, I need to look in here and see if there's a date. But I think I looked this guy up, and I believe he was like late 50s, early 60s. So, and this was done, just as, I guess, kind of like maybe a campaign thing where it's from the Department of Agriculture. So if you can find things like these, again, your garage sales, estate sales would probably have these, because if an older person has passed away, their kids don't know what to do with these.
Old bookstores.
But yeah, old bookstores. But this one has like all sorts of really great stuff in it, like how to cook certain things, how to cook meats, fishes, things like that. This is a really cool one, or something similar to this. It doesn't have to be like this. You have towns that have their own little cookbooks that come out. I have one from Frankenmuth, Michigan, which is really great. Just any place that you can find things like this, those are great.
My family had a cookbook that we put out. The beans.
Yeah, I can't remember where it is because that one's fun too. And it was actually a printed one where they printed it. So this is the other. Now, if you're going for something big, the America's Test Kitchen, I don't know if you watch PBS or anything like that, but there used to be a show. I don't even know if it's on anymore because we don't watch a whole lot of TV anymore, but this is a great cookbook because, you can look at it. These are all the recipes that my children wanted me to try. They tagged them all. But this is again, showing you how to make things from scratch. And then there's a little bit of like the science behind why you do certain things. I've never made a recipe out of this book that my family did not like. So if you can find one, this one's from 2001 to 2010. So this is an older one. And I'm sure that they probably have newer ones. But if you can find one like this, I'm sure you can get them on Amazon. But even an older one like this, you could find at a used bookstore, garage sale, like Goodwill, things like that. But this is a good one. I would recommend this one. All right, guys, so that's another one of our short videos. Probably from now on, they're going to be shorter just because it is trying to, some stuff there's just not enough to talk like 15, 20 minutes about.
Well, the thing about the cookbooks is fun because it has made it possible for me to even cook. Mm-hmm. There's been a couple times where Heather's been under the weather this winter, which is why we haven't put a lot of videos out for both of us. But she's been able to make the recipes very simple. Now, I'm a visual learner, so I need to kind of mess with it to make it happen. Where she's like, read the recipe, Kevin. And I'm like, I don't have it. So she did something that I think's really helped our family out a lot. And I know we've mentioned this in other videos, but this is a binder that we make a meal plan. Once we have that meal plan, we assign each meal to a date. Yep. And those recipes are in this book. So we put them in here. And like if I'm trying out a new recipe, it goes here. But then I have my favorites recipes, which are back here. So so as we try recipes, if we have a favorite one, she just moves it to the back. And this makes it a lot easier to this sometimes can be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Like I have to find the recipe. Where is the recipe? Yeah. And so what I'll do sometimes is, and especially not so much maybe with this one, but like with a family recipe, I'll just type it up, print it out, and put it in here. Yep. And it's a lot easier to follow if it's just the one recipe on the piece of paper. Also, some of the ones that I cooked, Cheater's lasagna, which is a real simple recipe, but I didn't know that until you showed it to me. I cooked what was it, sesame seed chicken or teriyaki chicken? Teriyaki chicken. With broccoli, and the kids actually ate it because I'm notorious. I am notorious for being a bad cook. Daddy's surprise is never. The kids are like, "Oh, I'm not eating here tonight." We cooked one. I cooked one thing one time that was just so bad, and which is ironic because I'm a restaurant man. I have been a restaurant manager. He was a restaurant manager. Yeah. But anyway, I think if from a person that doesn't cook, I think that finding a variety of cookbooks that fits your family and get your kids involved. I mean, this is a family heirloom as much as it is a cookbook. Yeah, and you can see it's been well loved. I mean, it's scraped up, the binding's starting to crack on it, and this is a great opportunity for you to spend time with your grandkids, for you to spend time with your kids, teaching them, discovering how to cook together. Yeah, and have them like go through these and go, okay, pick out a recipe, because then that way they're learning how to cook, they're eating different things. I used to do the same thing at the grocery store. Yeah. I would be like, okay, you're going to pick out one thing that you've never eaten before. That's right. And we're going to try it. We had artichoke, we had ugly fruit, we had Brussels sprouts on a stem. I mean, we had, and my kids, and they learned to like things because they had picked it out. So, but yeah, so that is my cookbooks. The ones that I would suggest, and again, it's kind of your own personal preference. Like, are you a little more nerdy like me and you want to know the science behind why certain things do, why it tastes better if you cook it this way as opposed to cooking it that way, or putting this ingredient as opposed to that ingredient. This is a good one. But like I said, probably my favorite one is this one, because they're passed down and they're handed down and they're old, and there's something that I know that I love. So something like that, go ask all of your relatives, the ones who were great cooks, hey, will you write this down for me? Because here's what you'll find. They're not going to be around forever. And so, before my grandmother passed away, I asked her for a lot of recipes that I loved that she used to make. So with that being said, I got no more. So more updates as we go, guys. Bye.